SoulSpeak featuring animal intuitive and medium Tammy Hendricks, offering insight, spirituality, transformation, and clarity to every soul. Now, here's Tammy.
Hey there. Happy Wednesday. Hopefully you are staying cool wherever you are in the world. It's noon here, maybe morning for wherever you're watching this from, maybe evening, and wherever you're from. And I'm so glad you're here. Glad you're joining us. It's always a great group. It's always a different, let's just say, episode, event, heart broadcast every single time. And so this is going to be no different. It's been an amazing gathering of the animals once again. So I'm really looking forward to this. It's good to see everybody coming in. I'm so honored. And hi, Leslie. It's so good to see you. Oh, Angel and Light, so good. And Greg. Hey, Claire, afternoon. Yes, it's afternoon for you. I love that. I can't wait to share some things with you today. It's in fact, I just get all over body chills when I'm talking about it because it was truly a show that dropped in, and I even had a dream before the show a couple of days ago that I want to share with you that just was an amazing dream, and it pertains to our show. So it's like, go animal, go animal souls. Hey, Ken, nice to see you. Hey, Shannon, I'm so glad you could join. Shannon and all your babies. And Joy, good afternoon to you too. Sandra, good to see you. Oh, I am too. I'm glad you're here. Hey, John, always good to see you. Um, so, as you come in, and I don't want anybody to miss this, um, I had, been thinking about the show with the past lives, the reincarnation, and more actually. Um, like I said, I had a dream, and good afternoon. Hello, everybody, Lori and both Loris. I had a dream about my dog, Teddy, and I want to show you a picture of Teddy. Renee will put that up for us. And so that's Teddy. Teddy is like a big, he's just huge, so sweet. He's a big lumbering lab mix, very, very kind. Just an amazing soul. So here is my dream. I wrote it down so I could read to you all, and I'm like, oh my goodness. Hey Donna, it's good to see you. So in my dream, I'm in an apartment near a window that's open. The room's on a higher level. Teddy, a big black lab mix, races into the room. He's running fast and races past me, barely stopping to acknowledge me. Right past me, he leaps toward and through the open window. Horrified, I look out the window to see him sailing through the air, hurling faster and faster downward toward concrete. In the same moment, I had the knowing thought that he would die instantly, and there wasn't anything I could do to stop it. It was only watching it. Everything happened so fast that there was no time to act or react, just being in the moment to watch a scene unfold. He hit the pavement, all fours splayed out, flattened by the fall. The very second he hit, an amazing thing happened. He immediately jumped up and started running like nothing had happened. And in that same instant, he reappeared by my side in that apartment room. He was jumping up and down, so very proud of himself, and even happier that I had seen his magic trick. In fact, he conveyed in that very moment that life is one big magic trick. I swear he had a smile on his face. And then I woke up. As I tell you this, I get chills, and I'm just, thinking about the show. I'd like to know, as you're kind of jumping in here and joining us, what do you think the message was of that? And why did I have that dream, you think, right? Just a few days ago, actually. What did that dream say to you? Um, oh, hey, Renee, beautiful afternoon. And hello from Rome, Katrina, lovely. So, what I took from that when I sat with it, which is what I always do with dreams, dreams are always messages of some kind, and I always really pay attention and I write them down, and I just sit with it to see what the dream's trying to tell me. And so, this felt like to me that what we perceive as death or loss as a final ending, right? Yet from the level of spirit, life is only a continuation. Every ending has an embedded beginning within it, and life continues on. I really feel like Teddy, who is still, he's probably, how old is Teddy? Probably 8, 9 now. Teddy came to be part of the show and for me to share this because, from an animal's perspective, they can show us really how it's done. And he was like, no big deal. This is how it happens. You land, you get right back up, and you go on. And it's just like, amazing. Oh, hey, Renee. That dream sounds like he is sharing. We never die. We're eternal. Totally, totally. And in a way that, I mean, you and I can talk. We can put words to it. But he showed me, and it was such a powerful kind of dream that I thought, you know, he wanted to, like I said, he wanted to be part of the show. If he were in here, he'd be like totally in my lap. He probably weighs like 85 pounds. But he's such a big soft energy, if that makes any sense. Susie says he is resilient and I'm still with you. Yes. Yes. And if you think about what we're talking on the show, I mean, really, you can't get any more direct than that. Um, Connie, good morning. Thank you for your wisdom. Oh, I'm going to tell you, the animals are sharing the wisdom. The animals, through me, through us, through your energy that you bring to the show and our gathering, it's really quite incredible. And at the end of every show, I always am like, wow, I didn't know it would go that direction, and that was so much fun. And so, yes, definitely. Would you say that dream is, yes, we go on. Um, what would that translate into a spirit that could then make some choices about what to do next since he just bounced back up? Um, that reincarnation piece, and I've been thinking about this for several weeks now. That reincarnation piece is really interesting because, as I said, at one of our shows, that we reincarnate every single moment of our lives. We bring the past into the present. It helps form who we are, whether we realize it or not. So, reincarnation has a broader meaning actually. And so I like to ask myself, what reincarnation of me is present, right? Like, is it the one from my childhood? Is the one, from my motherhood or my adulthood? It's all of that. And so Teddy, landing, and saw it was a hard landing, but he made it look like it was absolutely effortless. And I'd like to think that's the way it actually is. So just to, maybe recap some thoughts on the reincarnated souls. So, how would you know? And I was thinking back to all my animals. How would I know if one of them is reincarnated? I'd look at obviously the physical characteristics, if they look like, and I've had several of you reach out and share that, oh my gosh, this, and in fact, one of the people that has sent in a photo in question, I can't wait to show you this because, sometimes they do come in a very similar physical form. Sometimes it's very different. So you have to look deeper than that. So personality traits, I think I shared with you that Scarlett, my white lab, acted very much like Murphy, my white lab from years ago. And it was almost like I did a double take. And I was like, oh, you are Murphy. And I get it. Murphy is coming. You are channeling Murphy. That's what that was. So, you can look for the mannerisms and the physical characteristics, the personality traits, the eyes. Eyes are really important because, as you could look even at Teddy, you can see through his eyes. You can just feel him with no words, and that would lead into, how do we feel him? What's his essence? So sweet, kind, open, gentle, wise. You can see all that in his eyes. And that's the great thing about photos. They are blueprints of the soul. The timing of when they come back is also interesting. And I think I've shared the Snickers Skittles story of Skittles showing me the next one coming in, and then he showed up a week later. So look for timing. Um, look for friends and family that sense it too. You might have not notice it, and you might have a family member come in and they say, "Did you realize that that really reminds me of?" So it's like we all can pick that up. It's amazing. And then the other one, and these aren't all, but I'd say these are the main seven. You can like it feels like you've known this soul before. It feels on a very deep level like you just like you look different, or you really, you are a different breed. You're a cat, not a dog, but they feel, and that's you can feel it in your heart, and you can tell by that. Like check in with your heart is ah, it's like the whole part of you comes in. It's like you feel whole again. Um, Susie says, my wasabi didn't want me to grieve over his death for a long time and found marshmallows soon after. Absolutely. I totally agree with you, Susie. So let's see. Hello, I'm Connie from Michigan. I recently lost my fur baby, and I hope your dream is true because I'm so scared my fur baby is sad and missing me. Oh, I'm so sorry. And I'm so glad you joined us. I totally felt that my dream is true. There was no question. We don't have dreams for no reason. And the animals, especially when they come in a dream, pay attention. Pay attention because that's part of animal communication, right? And we all are doing that. Um, Susie, my grandson told me he saw Bella in the backyard. He said she changed into Stella. Oh, I just got chills. That's so lovely. How beautiful. Uh, and see, children can actually see very easily beyond the veil. They can see when an animal comes through, and they're all in on it, like animals and children. It's us who kind of have to catch up with the program. So I think Teddy thought he needed to like paint me a picture so I would be able to share that with you. Um, and Renee says, when they reincarnate, is it the aspect of their higher self that comes back to guide us, or do they have experiences they still need? A mix of both. Great question. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that because um, we think, that well, we don't have to think this, but sometimes we think it has to be the exact version, the exact soul that's come in. And what I've experienced and what I've seen from my animals is that it's an essence of them. It's soul essences come in, and yes, then they blend into that new body, that new spirit, and then that new spirit gets to experience more with you know all these other pieces that they've brought with them, just like we do. When we go back to the reincarnated piece, where we're reincarnating, but every moment we're new, if that makes sense. So I really feel, and I feel like the animals have said, um, you know, it's a mix, and there may be, I guess, a default to something that's like you can feel more of that soul in a new one, like a lot of characteristics, and then you may just feel wisps of things. So it's there's not one rule, but we definitely come back time and time again. Sometimes with the same people, sometimes for new experiences. And I think I shared on some show that I was actually on a bike ride after I had done a one on one session with somebody. And I was chugging up the hill, and actually the dog that I had connected with said, "Oh, wait, you need to like take this down." And I'm like, "I'm up a hill, I can't breathe." But I hopped off my bike because what came was he showed me an image of a game called Red Rover, Red Rover. And so when I was a kid, we would play that, and it's lined up like you say, you got 8 people on each row, and you'd say Red Rover, send Tammy right over. And what they showed me was one would come over and one would cross over. if that makes sense. So you see, they're always coming. They're always coming. They're always reincarnating in. Um, and John, I often feel my mom's presence when Melody is around. Mom always wanted Mel to be a lap cat, and now she is. I now call Melody Big Mama and rarely Melody. I love that. I love that. Um, John is an amazing musician, and he also has these amazing cats. And Melody, who is Big Mama now, will help him compose. Will help be in the room with him when he's creating. It's so beautiful. Um, so I love that. And yes, absolutely, I love that you can feel that. And I want to talk about that in a minute about the essence. Like, how do you know that? How do you know? How do you translate that into words? There's something about melody that you feel and your mom that you're able to feel. So I'd love to hear if you have any more on that, John, to share. I'd love to share that. Um, Dee says, Sammy has sent me so many signs that she's around, although it's becoming less and less. Still no dreams. That's all right. Wondering if she has completed her transformation. You know, I don't think we ever complete our transformations. I think we're always transforming and changing and transitioning. So, um, I have gone for years, and after animals have, passed, I was actually in Chicago writing something. Actually, it was about Molly, and I was just busy writing, and all of a sudden I felt her presence. And all of a sudden I started getting this download of remember this and remember that, like she was trying to co-write with me. Like, don't forget to tell him this. But it was so wonderful. And she had passed years before. So I feel that they come in many different ways. And oftentimes we don't I don't think we catch the cues as much. So don't, dreams are great. You can, and I actually am going to do a show on dreams, animals and dreams, because I've always been a really big dreamer, but I've also gone years when I hadn't dreamt anything. So I'm like, oh, my dreams are gone, and then they come back in. They come back in, especially when you are in soul transition, and they help us navigate that piece. So I would just stay tuned on that. And I would note the signs that she's around, because the more we acknowledge it, the more it opens us up to that possibility. So that's very helpful, and I appreciate you sharing that. Um, Tori, oh, Tori. I was devastated after I lost my Sabrina several years ago. I could barely function. 2 weeks after, I was sitting in the very back of a large restaurant, and suddenly there was a commotion. I looked to see what was up, and standing right in front of me was Sabrina, only healthy and full of life. I just want to cry. Um, I need Kleenex myself. My friends saw her too. They moved the dog outside with me right behind, and I stopped out the door, and of course, no dog. They are so creative in letting us know they are with us, aren't they? They totally are. And so they're always a part of things. They're not about to be left out. I just love that. Thank you for sharing. Yes, I mean that piece about being devastated, we've all been through, but we're always like wanting to see them again and wanting to feel them. And so the more we all can talk about it, and it's like, oh, I thought that was the sign, but yeah, I see you have a sign. If we can share, then that helps everybody understand that it's not just one person with a gift that can do any of this. We have hearts, and we're connected to our animals, and so our animals are very patient. They're like, let's give her a road sign. We think it's like the candygram in the sky banner, and it's usually something very simple, but it can be something as they make appearances. So I would definitely, whatever you do, just be really on the lookout for any signs and any feelings you might have, and just be really aware of that. Hey, Greg, let's see. Lately, I've been thinking that Lucy is reincarnated, and I know when, and I may have even held her. Oh my. I fear that I missed out on the chance to reconnect with her. I don't know about that, Greg. I don't get the feeling she's disconnected from you at all. I would totally, if you have that thought, as prolific you as you are, please write that down and just describe it, because there's something about that. How would you know when? And I may have even held her. So whatever you can capture in writing, um, please do. And I would encourage anybody, and not just because I'm a former English teacher, but because writing opens up channels, literally. Um, so yeah, I mean that reincarnation, we want them to come back, and we, you know, I'd say surprise me. So several of mine, as I've shared, have very distinct soul aspects of some of mine, and it I really appreciate them, and I actually appreciate the new soul as well, if that makes sense, the new blended soul. So what you're looking for really is that soul signature. Um, a- and we'll talk about like how do we know what a soul signature is? And I love that you guys are so brilliant. You're leading right into what I want to share, and I don't know how, except you're super psychic. Um, Kate says, Guido and my previous dog, Husky, Shyla, seemed more human than dog. Is it possible, especially Guido was human? Yes, Guido was, actually. Guido was. I I talked to somebody on a one-on-one who's she only had her rescue dog for about a year and a half, and then the dog passed. And she said that entire time the dog felt really angelic. And so she said, I'd never had this experience with an animal before, and I've always had dogs. And so the dog passed, and like within a 24-hour period, she was in her home, and she said she heard a voice say, thank you for letting me be an angel in a dog's body. Thank you for sharing that space with me. So, see, we can read energy really well, and I think that's very profound. The dog's name was actually Serafina. So you just can't write this stuff. The animals will do it for us. But yes, I totally think Guido was human. Um, and Tig's already like, well, what about me? So we'll have to get to Tig. Um, Good, Dee. I'm glad you write them down each time. Good, good. So thankful that I do that, as it confirms over and over that soul is still connected to me. Yes, yes. They don't go away. It's us who go away. They're like knocking at our door. They're like, jumping up and down. They're sending us animals. They're delivering gifts. And we're just like blank. So don't you know they look at each other and they're like, oh gosh, they really need some work. Um, Rain says, do animals come as walk-ins as well as we experience? Oh, I love that. Walk-ins. Yeah, actually. Yeah, I totally agree. Um, I think we all, yeah, to some degree have had that experience, and they can come in. They can come in a number of ways. Listen, later in the show, we're going to talk about somebody had a cloning question, the past life thing. So if you think about the reincarnation, before I jump too far, reincarnation and past lives, um, think about that for a minute. So if an animal has reincarnated, would it stand to, and you feel that and you believe that, and would it stand to reason that they have had a past life? the, the words are two, like they're two sides of the same coin, right? They reveal each other. And so as I was doing the show and thinking about it, all these different nuances came up about past lives and reincarnation. I'm like, wait a minute, that's really in a way the same thing if you think about it. John says, Mom was a bigger lady in body and presence, like Mel, and Mel now became way more affectionate and trusting after my mom passed in 2019. I believe Mom connected with Melody and asked her to be there for me totally in a tangible way, since she's now in spirit. Hence why I call her Mama, to acknowledge both Mel and my mom. Totally, and you are spot on that. And you're always going to have uh, angelic angels and spirits helping you through the animals, to help you communicate, because you're such a communicator. And as was your mom was a big presence. Now I didn't even know her, but I knew her through you, and I her influence, I think, was large, as is Melody's. Melody's on, or you know, Big Mama is on a mission. She's got a soul path with you. So yeah, I appreciate you elaborating on that. Um, so let's see, before I go on, as maybe as I'm answering a couple of these, um, you might want to run and get your pen and paper, because I'm going to share something as I always do. Sorry. Um, and I want you to be able to just play with it. And, if you don't do it on the show, you can do it later. I always like to give little like goodie bags for you to take home, and like the techniques or the exercises or the meditations. Um, but I want to talk a little bit more about that soul signature that we're going to recognize. And think about this. Would it be their smile? Would it be a gesture? Would it be something that only they would do? Like with Scarlett, when she channeled Murphy, it was a distinct energy and a distinct, like, get your stuff together to me, right? I don't know if she thought my tone was off or whatever, but she just like, and walked away. I was like, I'm sorry for whatever I did. And she's like, no, you better change your energy. And that's what that was. It's that Murphy would always like, change your energy and then we'll talk. That's another thing. We can't just say we're sorry. We have to embody that as far as an energy goes. And the animals can read that. They read energy. So I want to ask you something. Did your animal have a certain meow, a certain chirp, a certain bark that you would notice? And for any of us that have had people pass, have had animals pass, can you remember their voices? So many years later, can you remember them? John, I'd be interested. Can you remember your mom's voice? Molly, for instance, my yellow lab that is like so bossy even now. I can remember her bark. She had a distinct bark. And it's interesting because even with my mother and my father, I'm not sure I can retrieve that as easily. So, as we talk about it, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on that. Uh, would their soul signature be part of a vocal piece, an audible piece that you could identify them, not just eyes, not just physical characteristics, but something audible? Voices have always fascinated me because they are our signature, just like our handwriting. If you have any handwriting from loved ones, keep it, because that's also a blueprint. You can read into the feeling of it. It actually speaks of who we are. Handwriting is very, very intimate, as is the voice. Um, Leslie said, I can still hear my dad's voice. I love that. I love that. A good way to kind of touch into that as we're talking about it and you're thinking, huh, I wonder if I can, is especially after an animal or, really any loved one passes, is, you know, check the pulse of what made them special. What kind of things did you notice? We notice some details that we often don't even realize when they're alive. So let me see before it goes. Casca Quisha, my Czech wolf dog, passed away on November 1st, 2021, age 12, due to a chronic kidney disease. It's a long story, but I experienced her passing, feeling her gratitude and love. I can still tap into that. All right, so I'm the one that's going to have to like do the 5 hanky show and bring my own hankies in here. That is so beautiful. I love that you practice still tapping into it. It's so special. And keep doing that. And, you know, Greg, for Lucy, keep tapping into her energy and her essence, because it's alive, and it's us who kind of walk out of the room. So I love that you felt that gratitude and love. I have felt that many, many, many times. Well, every time, and especially with Sasha, my husky mix that passed. It was in that last breath that I felt this incredible sweetness. It's just like it took my breath away. It was so sweet and so beautiful because she was so vulnerable. So make sure you kind of keep note of that and think about voices. Do think about voices. You know how we say somebody has a radio voice? Think about your animals' voices. Think about how they communicate, not only with barks and meows, but they have so many voices. And it's all about really with us as well, we want our voices to be heard. And what level we hear them on is what is the depth of our relationship. So listen, always listen deeper. Tori says, my parents have been gone for years. It is not their voice I hear, but their distinct energy that feels like their voice, if that makes sense. Yes, that's a great way to describe that. I think it shocked me when I was trying to remember my mom's and was like, oh no, I can't remember it. She passed when I was 25. I just turned 25. And my father did when I was 19. So, you know, life goes on and we get busy. So I would encourage all of you to like retrieve that information because it's there in the field. I love that you are translating that energy voice. That's very helpful for all of us. So thank you. Um, Jeff says, I can steal my grandfather's voice after almost 20 years after he passed. You definitely would because you have such a good ear, such an, you know, inner insight ear is, yes, I feel like your grandfather always also is helping you in this next phase. Of course, along with Daisy, she will always be there. So if you got your supplies ready, um, I call this, for lack of a better, like the SoulSpeak soul signature technique. And what I want you to do, and Renee, if you, I've got a slide so you can copy it. There you go. So think back to a loved one that's passed, animal, person, anybody that's really special, and just, you know, free flow. List 5 to 6 qualities that you remember, ones that that remind you of them. 5 to 6 qualities. You can do more. You could do less. Something that would just like Teddy's not past, but if I'm tuning into his energy, it's a softness and a wisdom and an incredible sweetness, um, a big lumbering self. So tap into that, tap into the qualities. Then feel into and mentally picture their essence because that's actually what you identified with without realizing it. So that makes sense. Feel into and mentally picture what is their essence. John was talking about his mom's essence. I can't remember somebody else. It was Rain, I think. I don't know who it was. Anyway, sorry. It was talking about identifying like that energy voice. Oh, I know it was Tori. So that's actually what we recognize in each other, by the way. That's why I always suggest with people who have animals that are passing, do this before they pass, but you're welcome to do it as they're passing or in transition or you think they're going to pass. And just put your hand on their heart and feel their heartbeat because that's going to create a resonance. That's going to create um, that connection. And you'll be able to recognize that essence when it comes back after they've passed. Um, so this next part is an interesting one. If Renee, if you'd put the slide up. Oh, I didn't ask. Yes, okay. So close your eyes. Imagine you're at a party, but you don't know anybody. What if your back were turned? And you're actually talking with somebody you don't know or engaging in an activity. Do you think you'd be able to sense your loved one if they came into the room, but you didn't see them? And if so, how? How would you sense them? I'll tell you why this came to me to share with you because I actually did that. I had this happen to me. Would you feel their presence? What is it you feel? Where in your body could you feel it? So I'm curious to know if any of you feel like if you had your back turned and you didn't know, let's say your father's passed, which is how it actually happened with me. I don't know if I was in the twilight zone or whatever before I woke up, but I remember being what I'm describing to you. I actually experienced in a dream, let's say, uh, and I was at a party and I was busy talking, and all of a sudden I felt my father's energy. Now, again, how do you describe somebody's energy? But it's something we can recognize immediately. And so I remember like turning around, like, where is he? I know he's in this room. I know he's in this room. So we read energy without realizing it. We think we know their name. We see their bodies. We see all these different signs and things from them. But what we're really doing is reading underneath that and reading the energy in your heart space. I agree. Martine says, I would feel it in my heart space. Susie said, yes, I'm super sensitive to people's energies, whether dead or alive. Again, just one continuum. Um, uh, yes, absolutely. And that's really to our benefit to be so sensitive. This is a group of sensitives, of highly sensitive people and energies. Oh, Greg, I just got the chills. I felt Lucy walk into my study. I tell you, she's not going anywhere. She's absolutely part of your current life and will always be part of that. They're always going to be part of that, as Teddy, who's still here, but he dropped in a dream. I actually had another good dream I'll probably share on another show. I had two that morning, and so I thought I'd share, the Teddy dream, but also this piece about feeling who they are in your heart and being able to describe that in words, because the absolute beauty of life is that once connected, always connected. And our conscious awareness of that is what helps us to realize we're never actually without that being, though it may come in different forms. So if you have any questions about that, if you think about it, if you ponder it, don't hesitate to put it up on the comments, because you are energy readers, and you're discovering who the truth of that being is. It's really subtle when you look into it and not at it. So if you look at something with into the depth of it, you can pick up all these different feelings. And I would recognize somebody in across the, it's like the butterfly that flaps its wings, and we can feel it over here. It's the same thing. It's exactly the same thing with our loved ones coming back in. We would actually feel it. And then because they make deep impressions on us, and we're actually tracking that information without realizing we are. So past lives, reincarnation. When I looked up just what Webster's would say, the definition is past life, a previously lived life in a different body, according to theories of reincarnation. Excuse me, reincarnation definition: a reappearance or revitalization in another form, a new embodiment, rebirth of the soul in another human or non-human body. These two words, reincarnation, past life, they're joined, they're connected. They roll from one into another. Uh, Whatever direction we want to look, right? That all of us are bringing our past lives into the present. If we look at that reincarnation piece too, so it's the same things, and sometimes souls overlap in a lifetime. We talked about this a little bit at some point. So I want to show you real quickly some of mine again. You've seen maybe one of them. So Renee, if you don't mind putting up Frisky, Scooter, and Murphy. I think I've shared Murphy with you maybe last time. So so let me introduce you. So Frisky um, was this amazing golden who lived to be 14, and he had an incredible wisdom about him, like Teddy actually, and then a patience. He was totally I don't know. He had a big energy and it was a soft energy. Scooter came and had that same energy as Frisky, but you see, he came in a little Westy body. They overlapped lives. Frisky came in, Scooter came in. They were with each other, in passing, let's just say passing in their lives. And then Murphy came. Again, Frisky passed, Scooter was in place, Scooter passed, Murphy came. And you can tell if you look at these, they do have similar personalities. Their eyes, the depth that you could look in their eyes was incredible. Um, I'm just like, when they try to, what is it? Hypnotize us, and your eyes are getting sleepy. I mean, I could look at these dogs and I got immediately calm. But you see the kindness in each one, and that's I probably have shared that with you. I'm actually looking over my computer. I've got Murphy's tulip photo on the wall. Very kind, and he did that himself. That wasn't staged. So that just showed part of who he was, and they all do. Um, but they pass the baton to one another. So each soul is an individual soul containing many facets of a lot of souls, right? Many facets, many essences within them. We're all mixed. So I want to share with you. Somebody wrote in about the part where we cross over, and it's about a story about a dog and a duck. So Renee, if you would put the dog and duck up, I think it's a really cool story. I'll start reading. This person said, when I was a child, I found a beagle who'd been abandoned, likely by a hunter. Dog and I had a soulmate connection. We did everything, spent hours outside exploring and enjoying life. After a year, she passed. The loss of her forever changed my life. There would never be another like her. Or so I thought. Fast forward 20 years. I'm an adult handling business. I would often go to a local park to make phone calls and step away from my business activities. This park was at a river. There wasn't much wildlife aside from the occasional alligator. One day I met a young duck at the park while I was walking my dog. The duck came running to me. I found as the days went by, going to the park and seeing him became what I looked forward to most. You see, we had an instant friendship that felt familiar. I can't in a logical way explain it, but we knew each other. One day he came up to me, allowed me to hold him, and he put his head on my shoulder and started nibbling my hair and face with his beak. It was equivalent to a dog giving kisses. It was in that moment I recognized who he was. He was my dog that had passed many 20 years ago. It was his essence, the way my world felt right and complete and no longer empty when I held him. 5 days after this visit, I found him dead on the side of the road. He had been hit by a car. The guilt that I faced is conversation for another day. When looking back, though, at that short but meaningful friendship, I realized he was my dog, my original soul dog, coming back to just connect and share true love. Isn't that beautiful? So, do we come back in different forms? I believe we do. I absolutely believe we do. The essence of this dog came back in this duck, and the person actually could recognize it. There's no question you can as well. Um, and you wouldn't even think, and she wasn't obviously looking for that soul to be her dog. And that's how it happens. It'll come by surprise, and you'll just be like, oh, it feels just like that. So, I was talking earlier about the cloning piece. Um, Somebody asked about that last time, and I thought, you know what? We're talking reincarnation, we're talking past lives. What of cloning? So I looked up the definition. It's to make an identical copy, 100% genetic DNA match, right? So are we already, I have to ask you this because it's like the reincarnation. We reincarnate every moment of our lives too. Do our animals reincarnate people? Question for you. Are we already living clones? I'd be curious to know what you think of that, because from my understanding and my thinking about this topic, we're often influenced by others, right? Family, friends, those we're close to. When we're children, we mimic without realizing the traits and the behavior, right? So think of the word mini me and how often we might say, "Oh, she's a mini me of whatever." But as far, I feel like we are blended clones of sort, and we all are picking up traits from the other, and um, it's not. always identifiable by something exact, right? So the thought about cloning things makes you think that the animal, let's use that for instance, is going to come back exactly like we expected them to. I have somebody else, the person that wrote in asking about the cloning, which is why we're talking about it now, said that she had been thinking about cloning because she saw it on a video. And she said, you know what? Some connections are too special, too deep, too incredible to imagine a life without them. I have a 14-year-old dog. I can feel he's really slowing down. He needs help to get on the bed. And I know every single day matters with him. And after 14 years, it has created a bond that can never be broken. So I'm thinking about the cloning piece. What if a world without him doesn't have to exist? She wrote, I was asked recently by a friend, when you clone him, do you think you would get the same dog? My answer was simple. No, each soul is an individual. I don't expect to get the same soul, regardless of a 100% DNA match, but I will have a living piece of him. Just like with parents and children, there's special traits that often carry on, a specific smile or laugh, a mischievous look, specialized moments that make a soul beam. Don't you love that? I love soul beam. This is what I envision from cloning. He is my family, and his legacy will continue on in a unique and special way. I will recognize, love, and appreciate every version of him, however he shows up in my life, whether it's a clone, a wisp of him in the breeze, or a memory of all the cherished time together. So, Tammy, my question for you, if I would pursue cloning, what are your thoughts on if his soul will come back completely? Will he be a different dog or a new soul? Um, Definitely a new soul that's blended from all the different souls. And I always say it really doesn't matter the form in which the animals come to us or people come to us. Whether it's somebody who's thinking about cloning or somebody, an animal, or somebody who goes to the pet store and buys an animal, or an animal runs in the middle of the road and that's how the animal comes. The form is important only as it's the platform on how they get to you. Um, More important is the fact that you recognize them and you actually, um, you can sense that similarity. So I always say it can. The soul, in a cloning situation, there's no hard and fast rule. That soul can come in as essences in that cloned animal. Um, is it going to be an exact match? I've not seen that. I don't. From what the animals have told me is this, and I wrote it down so I could share it. Is like picture a sparkler emitting thousands of sparks. That's what happens when the soul essence disperses. It merges into another soul, reforming itself into an updated version. So, could the soul come through cloning? Absolutely. We don't get to control that piece. And, it's really beyond our scope. So, I would just say, as far as are we clones, list the traits, behaviors, tendencies you notice in yourself that might be hand me downs from someone else. And I have to ask you, is that what we call lineage? Is that a piece and a broader definition, a different definition? Can people and animals share traits, characteristics, behaviors? Think of a time, I wrote this down, so me. Think of a time when your child barked like a dog, or in my case, Parker and Frisky. I My son, my youngest, was, Frisky was very, very much his like guide. And so I'd go in and I'd see Parker drinking from the bowl with Frisky. I'd see Frisky carrying his passy off. And, I'm pretty sure I may have always told my children they were going to the vet for a checkup. We always also went to the vet for dentals. They may or may not have eaten a few dog biscuits in their time. So absolutely. Can we mimic or, exhibit traits from an animal? 100%. I would say Katie and I shared a lot of that. And I really liked that. It was such a sisterhood. So, the reincarnating piece, I'd really like you to think into that further And in your day, as you walk around or with your animal, where is your animal bringing in, from yesterday to today? What is reincarnating in your animal? Susie said, I always wanted to be as beautiful as the cats that came into my life. I've never thought I was attractive, so maybe the cats are teaching me to feel attractive and lovable. Oh, the sheer beauty of the mirroring that the animals do, um, what they're teaching us to look at within ourselves. I love that you catch that. And if here's the deal, if we can see something in another, let's say beauty and attractiveness, then we have it in ourselves. And cats generally know that. Cats, yeah, cats have that one. They're naturally confident. Most of them are very naturally confident. That's not a completely generalized, totally true statement, but they do carry the essence of, especially of like queen energy. So I love that you're receiving the gifts that they're sharing with you. And that's a wonderful way to describe it. Um, Let's see, Brenda, yes, I've got you right here. You must be psychic. Renee, if you would put up a few questions while we still have time. Brenda, Brenda, you are good. So Brenda says, I sent you pictures of Zazu, whom we put to rest, and Lily, our recent addition. When we first got Lily, she would look into my eyes, but it felt like she was looking into my soul. I felt like this was Zazu. Are they connected? Yes, they are. They totally are. Um, this goes back to, if we want to look at the traits, the 7 traits, you got to be kidding me, right? The look, it's the eyes too. The eyes. Look at the depth of eyes on both of them. So absolutely, Lily came in 100%, and I get the sense with Zazu that she was just very easy, like an easy transition, no matter what she had that caused her passing. It felt to me like it was a smooth kind of smooth sailing, she's saying. So I love that you just put it in the comments, and I was getting ready to put it up. That's the way the animals roll. And the next one, um, this is Jake, and I'll read from you. The type is a little funky. Jake was sadly taken from us by a car the 12th of May of this year at just 4 years old. I don't have a specific question, as things are still very raw and upsetting. If you could take the time to reach out to give to Jake, I would very much appreciate any feedback from our little guy. We miss and love him so much. Oh my goodness, Jake. Was a very I get very much part of your family in the way of, like he was a sibling, like he was a child, like he was your child. Um, he has very little boy energy, and I get a when I'm tuning in as I'm talking, he's jumping up and down. He's like super excited to be focusing on this because he knows his passing was sudden and tragic, and he knows that you have struggled, he says, but he wants you to know he is definitely there. And I feel like, especially as we're talking about this now, you're going to be able to feel him in a different way, even as you grieve his passing. Do you have more pictures of him? Because I feel like you've got other pictures that you've been looking at, and he wants you to know that uh, that is his influence on you. He is absolutely buoyant. I'm just feeling a really light energy. You remember when we talked about Teddy and the hitting of the concrete and he jumped up? That's exactly what Jake did. 100% when, and he doesn't want you to focus on that car accident. And he also says it's not your fault. So I don't know whether, I don't know the circumstances of it, but he doesn't want you to feel guilty. And he wants you to know that he will be uh, jumping in, he says. He's got a jumping energy, jumping in. Uh, and so all you have to do is open to that, and that connection will continue. What an honor. Thank you for sharing him. And let's see. Hi, Tammy. Has Odie come back to visit us? Kelly. When I feel into Odie, I get the sense that he has had a pretty good time coming back in form after form after form. Like, uh, like he's got this little notebook of lifetime adventures that he has collected, and almost like he's a storyteller. So I don't know if you do any writing or if you've been like communicating with him in any way. He definitely has a very uh, clearly direct energy. Um, and I would look for him if you don't feel like he's coming back to you. I would just be open to that idea and just be like, wouldn't it be great if we could continue this journey and learn more from each other? Um, he's also very kind. He says he was very kind. Um, he may have gotten in a little trouble from time to time, but he was very kind. He says you are too. So there's a reflection to you he wants to pass off. I hope this helps. Hey, Chrissy. Um, thank you for sharing your gift. You know what? We all have gifts to share. I know I've asked about Kirby Douglas before, but is he here to help me cope with life? This is Dougie as a pup and now. He is definitely he's using okay, so he's using the word ranger. So I don't know if he feels like he's a park ranger. I get, we've talked before. I feel like he's a super grounder and he's also a thinker. He definitely um, is using that word. So I don't know if you called him ranger or you've been. Yeah, I don't know. You'll have to think about that. Usually when things like that pop in and it's random, they make me blurt it out. So um, he definitely is your sturdiness. He says again, that reference is going to be something that you would understand. It comes to me in the form of how they're sharing it energetically. Um, he also feels, and I've heard the word when I was just talking of adventure with him. So I don't know if you've talked about taking him on adventures. You'd like to take him on adventures. He definitely is up for it at any time, and at the same time, he's there to watch and be a ranger, kind of a protector for the house and protector of you. That energy over you, I'm feeling very strong, like he's around you quite a bit. So he's like, she's got. I'm her guy. I'm her guy. So cute. Um, so this is my beautiful Sunny Bear who passed in November. I adopted him with the previous March. He was only with me for 8 months and became sick. I was heartbroken. I know he came to me for only a short period for a reason. We were so connected. Since his passing, my life has changed so much for the positive, and I know it's down to him. I do believe we were together in a past life as a connection is so strong. Do you have any message, please? When I saw his photo, I just uh, the depth of his soul, the depth of his spirit. He says he came to you special delivery. I love that. He said he was special delivery. So I'm not sure what the reason that you adopted him, but he was like, I was supposed to come in. I came in on time. I came in on cue, and he also says he left on cue as for his life path. That it was super important that he come and connect with you so that you could recognize that essence. And yes, you definitely have been together in a previous lifetime. You've been through many lifetimes together. So it's kind of like a high five. Hey, how are you? And, again, just I get a rolling around, like rolling from one thing to another. So I wouldn't be surprised if you don't have some real things pop up that remind you of him, because he was very significant in your life. And as you're already seeing, very positive, just reflections now for you. And that's, the whole discussion about where do we put our grief? How do we use the grief in the way the energy ultimately wants to be used? And I love that you're starting to see all the transformation that he brought to you. Thank you for sharing him. He's beautiful. And this is Miss Kate. And we talked about Guido earlier. Guido is that golden to the right, down the bottom. Kate's holding him. I'd love to know if I've had past lives with them and what their roles were. Yes, yes, totally. Guido was a human. And how that ties into their roles in my life today. I've also included photos of them individually. So that little guy with Kate is Tig. And Tig's got some character. Tig's full of like life and is he's using the word spinner. So I don't know if it's spinning energy um, or he spins your life around and he keeps you like stirred up. Um, but he definitely he's like, Guido, he was great and he was okay, but like I'm the guy. Like I'm totally the guy. So he sees himself as stepping into the role, where Guido passed the baton. And, actually Guido was so patient with him, right? And so understanding of his little frisky spirit, that it allowed Tig to actually, and it still is, to develop in a way that he's growing more and more. So he's like a little spitfire. I love his energy. So I hope this helps. But definitely, you have some soul friends there. And Victoria says, "Please help Harry. Please help. Harry passed away suddenly at 3. I'm devastated. Um, was it liver failure? Was it cancer? Did he eat something and did he suffer? Oh, first of all, I am so sorry, Victoria. Um, Harry is so glad that you brought him up. I actually, when I was just putting these slides together, was feeling him, and I got this sense of a very soft bond with you, very impactful bond. He He's using the word pillow, so I don't know if you laid with him or in his lifetime. He says he says, I was a specific dog. I was a specific soul. Um, and not all souls are, obviously. We're all specific souls. But he came to learn about family. He came to learn what it meant to be sun energy. And he's also giving me the image of sun, like the sun and the sun beaming down on him and him soaking up the sun. So I know this picture is outside that you shared, but I'm wondering, did he lay in the sun? Did you see a lot of things with that? He's really quite, he doesn't want you to focus on the end. He's not giving me a distinct feeling which one it was. I do get the sense that he knew, uh, toward the very end, there was something going on with his body, and he wanted me. And I know this must be why Teddy shared that dream with all of you, or having these experiences with your animals, is to tell you, look, this is how we do it. We just hit the ground, we step back up, we keep moving on, and life always. So that's when he's not wanting you to focus on the why or the how. He's like, so he's very alive feeling to me. So I hope, this helps you, and maybe you can write down some things that you have thought about him, or, write him a letter, get that communication going, because, better than anything, that we can do together, you can do, with your animal as well. And it's a beautiful connection we all have, and we all have the ability. And I'm always happy to talk to any of you one-on-one. I love working with you. I love you sharing the animals. I've had so many people write in, and I see the comments. I will definitely look through that. I'm running out of time. So to be continued on my next show. I'm toying with animals and dreams, and I did not look to see the date, and I should have before. I just go every 2 weeks. So let me see what that is. So that would be the 20th. Yes, the 20th. That if we'll come back together, I'll try to get to as many of these questions I didn't get to. I always appreciate the conversation. You're an amazing group. Animals are really strong with us today, so let's keep that conversation going. I really look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you so much for joining.
You've been enjoying Tammy's SoulSpeak, featuring animal intuitive and medium Tammy Hendricks.